I am confident that you would like to have some money in the bank as a cushion when life starts lifing. Now, you may be pursuing that goal by yourself or with a partner. And if it's with a partner, sometimes it can get a little bit tricky. So let's talk about some of the best ways to figure out how you and your partner can build your emergency fund. In part 1 of the Relationship and Money series, I talked about the importance of understanding how your partner manages their bank accounts and how they're thinking about the way that you'll manage them as a couple. Now we need to talk about what's actually in the accounts. So if you're in love or you're planning to be one day, then it should be no surprise to you that money becomes an issue in relationships and sometimes actually leads to divorce. But maybe it's a surprise to you that couples who talk about money before they get married and consistently during their marriage tend to be happier or more satisfied in their relationship. Now, if you have no plans in getting married, that's okay. Maybe you want to live with a partner or just be in a long-term committed relationship, and you might want to merge your finances in some ways. Because of that, I created the Relationship and Money video series. So if you're between the age of, let's say, 35 and 55, and you've experienced love and maybe heartbreak, you know how important it is to be compatible with a partner, particularly financially compatible. And a part of that means you may have to have some difficult or uncomfortable conversations to determine if the way you and your partner approach money are well aligned. Plus, ultimately, we want to minimize money fights. So today we're talking about building an emergency fund. We know that most Americans, based on studies, don't have enough money in their bank accounts to cover a $400 to $500 emergency. And I don't want you and your partner to be in that situation. So the biggest question that comes up when we talk about emergency funds is, how much should I have in an emergency fund? And there is no simple answer. Very often we hear 3 to 6 months, and I subscribe to that guidance. However, it's often not that simple. In order to figure out how much money you should have in the bank or you and your partner should have in the bank to cover unexpected expenses and to just have a bit more peace of mind when it comes to your money, when you talk to your partner about this, I want you to remember that this is not an interrogation. So you are asking questions, but you are also sharing information, which means that you need to be okay with being vulnerable, but you also need to have a really good understanding of your own position on these topics. So let's get into it. There are 5 questions that you can ask your spouse when it comes to building your emergency fund. The first question is asking them how much they think that you should have in the account. What number are they comfortable with? And have they considered a plan on how you all can get there? Now, in order to figure out what number you're comfortable with, you probably need to know your monthly expenses as a couple. So once you figure out that, you can determine if the traditional guidance of 3 to 6 months is reasonable and if it's feasible. Let's spend some time talking about the reasonable part. So the next question is about how many sources of income your partner has. You should be willing to disclose how many sources of income you have, but maybe your partner receives dividend income or business income or income from investments or investment properties. These are things that you're going to want to know because it will help you understand how volatile your partner's income may be. If most of the income comes from a W-2 job, there are a few layered questions that you want to get into to really understand how comfortable your partner feels in their job or in their field, and if they've had any past issues with unemployment and the consequences or implications of those issues. So at this point, you've already asked them what number they would feel comfortable saving in the emergency fund, and you've also asked how many sources of income they have. The next question you want to ask is related to employment. When was the last time they've been unemployed, and how long did the unemployment period last? When they begin to share information about this, you may want to ask questions about what they did in order to get back on their feet, if they were able to tap into existing emergency funds that they had, or if they needed to borrow money from friends and family or rely on credit cards or loans. Question number 4, when was your last promotion and when do you expect to get your next promotion? Now this question can be a little tricky because maybe it's been a really long time since they've had one or they have no idea when their next promotion might be. This question is really important because there's some underlying things that are connected to this that you really want to make sure you understand. For example, if your partner has been in the same role with the same company, there's there's some additional things that you want to consider from a risk perspective. It would be important to know if they have maintained their skills or trainings or certifications in order to make sure that they are marketable. You also want to know where they fall on the pay scale with their company or their industry. So if you're talking about promotions, more than likely promotions come with additional money. If your partner might be receiving additional income in the near future, then that can help you achieve your savings goals faster. However, if your partner is on the lower end of the pay scale with their company and they haven't received a promotion in a while, then this is good intel for you to know, because maybe you can have conversations about what they need to do in order to make themselves more marketable within the industry or put themselves in a position to receive a promotion if that's what they like to do. If they have no interest in going after a different job or a higher paying job, this is important information that you need to know as you plan for your future as a couple. Now, this may not be an issue, but it's also possible that there could potentially be a performance issue. There's some sensitivity here with how you approach the topic, but again, just something for you to be mindful of. Connection to question number 4 around the promotion is figuring out how easy it is for people to get promoted in their field or just to get jobs in their field. If their skills are easily transferable to a different position or to a different company, that's good information for you to know. Question number 5 is asking how much access do they have to credit? So whether they have lines of credit or credit cards, you're trying to figure out if there's actually credit available for them to tap into. So if you don't have a lot of money saved in the bank for unexpected expenses, then the next thing that you can do is use a credit card or line of credit to cover those expenses. But again, if you don't have enough discretionary income once you get paid, then it's unlikely that you or your partner will be able to pay off that credit card or pay off that loan once you incur the debt. So I know I covered a lot of things here, but the reason that I wanted to bring up those 5 questions is to help you understand that it's not always so straightforward as far as establishing how much money you should have in your emergency fund. So yes, 3 to 6 months could be a very reasonable and feasible number for you and your partner, but you have to think about all the nuances that I just mentioned about the ability to reach that goal. And again, if you are one of the people that I mentioned at the beginning of the video that may not have $400 to $500 in the bank to cover an unexpected expense, there's absolutely no shame in that. Start where you are. So that may mean that instead of trying to reach 3 months of expenses, your starting point is $1,000. $1,000 can cover most insurance deductibles, and it can cover many unexpected expenses that may come up. To learn more about money topics like this and how to discuss them with your partner, feel free to take a look at the recently updated blog post, Screw Love, Are You Financially Compatible?, which is linked in the description, or you can continue to tune in to the relationship and money video series. I am Nikki Tucker with The Firm Approach, and thank you so much for watching.